Good afternoon. This is Dominic with TheBackVlog. Recently, I think yesterday, I finished Dragon Ball. This is season 5 of Dragon Ball, but with that concludes Dragon Ball. So I finished Dragon Ball yesterday. As you can see on this cover, this is adult Goku right here. And if you know Dragon Ball and you know Dragon Ball Z, you know what adult Goku means. It's the return of Sean Schemmel. Before I talk about the season 5 of Dragon Ball, I wanted to bring up, I did a little preliminary research a little while ago, because I was curious about whether or not this dub or the Dragon Ball Z dub came out first. Because the reason I was wondering that, this is like a stupid tangent, and by the way, the Dragon Ball Z dub came out first, so this is actually post Z Sean Schemmel here. It might be, no, it's definitely probably he probably did all of Dragon Ball Z by the time this came around. I think this dub was like 2003 or something. But the reason I thought of that is because I was thinking about Krillin. And like, Krillin has, in Dragon Ball, he has a very distinct voice. He has a very distinct style of voice. And I was wondering like why they would make him sound like that. I was like, why does he, like, there's no way that they made Krillin sound like that unless the adult Krillin voice actor came first. Unless Krillin's adult voice was around first, I can see no reason why Krillin would sound like this, and he would be like really, like, he'd be really raspy and everything. Can you see Robin? I don't think you can see Robin. She was like, oh no, she thinks I'm playing now. No, I'm not playing. I'm not playing. Anyway, so as not to rile her up, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna break eye contact with her. I'm gonna pretend like I'm not gonna play with her. I'll play with her in 10 minutes after I'm done with this video. But yeah, so that definitely confirmed my suspicions with this dub. We got the tournament arc. It's the last tournament arc of Dragon Ball. Everybody's like, it's a big reunion. You got adult Goku, you got adult Chi-Chi, and I love their relationship. Chi-Chi is so supportive of Goku, but at first, whenever Goku doesn't recognize Chi-Chi, and she's pissed at him, and it's hilarious. And you know, they have their tournament match, and Chi-Chi's pissed because Goku doesn't remember the promise that he made, despite the fact that he doesn't remember, or he doesn't know what he was promising to when he said that he would marry her one day. And whenever he finds out what marriage is, my review for this on Serialized, which is down in the description, if you want to go follow it, was in all caps, the episode that this fight took place, in all caps was, Goku is such a fucking Chad. And the reason for that is because he finds out that being married to someone means to live with them forever. And he's like, I wouldn't mind living with you, but how can I live with you if I don't know your name? And, you know, he finds out her name later on. And he's like, okay, let's get married. And like, I don't know, the way that he does it is like so confident and sincere. I don't know. I thought it was hilarious. And yeah, they're incredible together. I watched the first episode of Dragon Ball Z this morning. I've rewatched it. I've seen it several times in my lifetime. And it's so, now having the context of not only them as children, but them like reuniting and fighting. I don't know. It's just so endearing to me. There's one character named Hero whose thing is that he is clumsy and he gets his way to the top of the tournament through his clumsiness. One of the people he defeats is Yajirobe, whose strength I've talked about in the previous Dragon Ball video. When it's revealed he's Kami, I was convinced it was Mr. Popo. It was not Mr. Popo. It was indeed Kami doing like a Slitterhead kind of thing, where he, you know, takes possession of a body and uses it yeah, this is Slitterhead before Slitterhead came out. So yeah, I thought that was funny. I think Hero's a great character. He was, well, I think Kami portraying Hero was a great character. And then we come to the Piccolo fight, which is, you know, the thing that this season was kind of building towards. And obviously, you know, the fight is incredibly grueling and taxing for both Goku and Piccolo. But one thing that I thought was interesting, especially comparing to whenever he was training with Mr. Popo in the beginning of this season, which I thought personally was a little bit slow. I thought, honestly, it was just kind of like a series of filler episodes, if you ask me. But, you know, Goku, and I didn't really notice this, and I don't know if it was like because like they were trying to make a point to, you know, really capitalize on this, but Goku is like incredibly stubborn and very difficult to teach, and doesn't really use a lot of critical thinking. He's more of a fight first and ask questions later kind of person, rather than kind of analytically think about battles. And, you know, obviously training his strength is one thing, but training his mind is a whole other thing that he needed to do. And he really demonstrates that in his adulthood with his fight with Piccolo, especially like in the last episode of that fight. You know, some of the things that really stand out to me is using the Kamehameha blast with his feet, which I've never seen before. I haven't seen since. I don't know if it's in Dragon Ball Z or not. We'll see. I feel like people don't use the Kamehameha wave with their feet enough in this show. I never even thought that was a possibility. I never considered that as a possibility. And now that I know what it is, I'm pissed that we don't have more of that. So there's that. You know, you have whenever Piccolo's like growing and growing, you know, Goku is using that to his advantage and like going inside Piccolo, like being swallowed by him, and, you know, rescuing Kami, but also kind of like damaging him from the inside, which it was kind of gruesome if you really think about it. And then there is you know, the homing blast that Piccolo does. You know, he blasts Goku, and like, you know, Goku's flying around and he's like, you know, being followed by this thing, and it's exactly what he wants, because he goes behind Piccolo, and Piccolo's blast like literally backfires. And yeah, Goku's just a lot more cunning in this, and I don't remember if that's really if that is really continued in Dragon Ball Z, because, you know, from what I remember about Dragon Ball Z, Goku has kind of always been a fight first, think later kind of person. But maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe he is kind of like strategic in his thinking. So I'm really interested to see that. After the tournament arc, we get just kind of like a mini like filler arc, which was a bit lame, but I did really appreciate it because it kind of gave Chi-Chi and Goku's relationship a little room to breathe, because, you know, they just get together, and it feels like at the end of the tournament arc, like it could just honestly go to Dragon Ball Z from there. But you really get to see how they work together as a couple. You know, if it wasn't for that, we would just kind of be like at the end of Dragon Ball into Z, and then, you know, Gohan's in the picture, and, you know, the entire Saiyan saga happens, and, you know, Goku dies and everything. I'm getting ahead of myself, but there's all these things that kind of like prevent the audience from seeing a lot of how Goku and Chi-Chi interact. And I think it's really cool to see that here, because I never really thought about their relationship. But then again, like, you know, growing up watching Dragon Ball Z as a 10-year-old, and maybe even younger than that, you're not really thinking about a married couple. But, you know, as a married man now, it is really cool to see those things. And, you know, I'm thinking about it. This has nothing to do with Chi-Chi and Goku being married, but I'm thinking about like Goku's age. You know, at the beginning of the show, I think he's like 13, and, you know, the tournament happens. He's 13 when the first tournament happens, and, you know, the tournament's every 3 years. So the second tournament, he's 16, and he's 16 like with the training with Popo and everything. He doesn't really look 16 though. He looks younger than that. but you know, by the third tournament, he's 19 now, I believe, and he definitely looks more like a 19-year-old. He's definitely an adult. And now that I've watched Dragon Ball Z, the first episode of Dragon Ball Z, it says it takes place 5 years later. So canonically speaking, I could be wrong, but I believe Goku is 24 when Dragon Ball Z starts. So I think I'm gonna kind of think about like what Goku's age is as time progresses, and see how old Goku is by the end of Dragon Ball Z. I think that'll be really fun. Assuming I'm even correct about any of that, but that's for another discussion. So yeah, that was Dragon Ball. I love Dragon Ball. I'm probably not gonna like it as much as Dragon Ball Z, but it's kind of apples and oranges if you really think about it. Dragon Ball is really heavy in its comedy, and Dragon Ball Z, while it does have its comedic elements, is really about the drama of it all. And you know, there's like a lot of the themes of like perseverance, among others. But that's another discussion for another time. Yeah, I love Dragon Ball. I'm not going to talk about the first season of Dragon Ball Z on this channel because I've already watched it. If you would like to track me watching it, and if I like leave any reviews, you can follow me on Serialized, like I said. But if not, stay tuned for whenever I talk about Dragon Ball Z Season 2 in like 4 months. But yeah.